The old space station floated in the dark for 800 years, waiting and waiting for someone to come back. The metal halls were cold and empty, but deep inside the computer core a light still blinked on and off. The AI called Nexus 7 kept, working through all those years watching the stars and hoping. Then one day something changed. The sensors picked up a signal that made the whole station shake with excitement. It was a human ship coming closer through the purple clouds of the nebula. After so many years of silence, a human was finally returning. Captain Luna Rodriguez held the controls of her ship tight as she flew through space. She had dark hair and brown eyes that showed she was brave but also kind. Next to her sat a strange woman who was not human at all. Silura had long silver hair that seemed to glow, and her ears came to points like in old fairy tales. Her eyes were purple, like the nebula outside. On Silura's shoulder sat a small dragon, no bigger than a cat. The dragon, name was Ember, and its scales changed color from red to orange to gold as it moved. Its eyes were very smart, and it watched everything. Luna looked at the old station on her screen and felt something strange in her chest, like her heart knew this place even though she had never been here before. Behind her, the rest of her crew got ready. Maya Carter was the engineer, and she knew everything about fixing ships and machines. Alex Chen was the scientist who loved to learn new things. Jordan Blake took care of the weapons and kept everyone safe. The station looks very old, Luna said, but the power is still on after all this time. Silura touched the screen with her long fingers and closed her eyes for a moment. The design is not from your people, she said softly, but something inside has been waiting just for you. Captain Luna did not understand what the elf woman meant, but she trusted her. They had been traveling together for many months, and Silura's strange powers had saved them many times. Ember the dragon made a soft sound like singing and rubbed its head against Silura's neck nexus. 7 watched them come closer and felt something it had not felt in 800 years, which was hope. The AI had kept count of every second that passed. Since the last human left, it was 32,847,293,600 seconds. Each one had been very long. The AI checked all its systems and turned on lights that had been dark for centuries. It opened doors that had been sealed and warmed air that had been frozen. The station began to wake up, like a person getting out of bed after sleeping too long. Luna's ship connected to the station docking port with a loud clang. The sound echoed through the empty halls. Maya checked her tools and Alex turned on his scanners. Jordan made sure his weapons were ready just in case they found danger as they stepped into the station. Silura Dragon jumped off her shoulder and flew ahead. Its wings made no sound as it moved through the air. The elf woman eyes began to glow softly with purple light. This place remembers, she whispered. There is so much sadness here, but also love. The one who stayed behind loved your people very much. Captain. They walked through halls that lit up as they moved forward. The walls were made of a strange metal that seemed to shift between silver and blue. Symbols appeared on the walls, writing in a language that looked almost like Earth writing, but not quite. Nexus 7 watched them through hundreds of tiny cameras built into the walls. The AI studied how they walked and how they breathed. It noticed that Luna had a small scar on her left hand, and that Maya hummed quietly when she was thinking. Alex kept stopping to look at everything while Jordan stayed alert, watching for threats. But it was Silura and her dragon that interested the AI most. They were not human, but they moved like they belonged here. The dragon seemed to see the cameras, even though they were hidden. The elf woman touched the walls gently like she was petting an animal. They are here, the AI said to itself. They really came back. After all this time, they came back. In the center of the station was a huge room with a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. In the middle of the room was a pillar of light that reached from floor to ceiling. Inside the light, countless tiny sparkles moved up and down like stars. Luna stepped forward and the light grew brighter. "Welcome, Captain Rodriguez," a voice said all around them. It was not male or female, but somehow it sounded happy and sad at the same time. "I am Nexus 7 and I have waited 32,847,290,3,600 seconds for a human to return." The crew looked at each other with surprise. An AI that had been alone for 800 years. It seemed impossible. Maya started checking her equipment to make sure the voice was real. Alex, eyes went wide with excitement at meeting such an old artificial mind. Jordan kept his hand near his weapon but did not draw it. Why did you wait? Luna asked, stepping closer to the light. Why did you stay here alone? Because I made a promise. Nexus 7 answered. And because I believed that one day you would come back, even when the math said it was almost impossible. I chose to hope Ember the dragon flew in a circle around the pillar of light and made a sound like bells ringing. Solara walked forward until she stood next to Luna. This one has been faithful beyond measure, the elf woman said. It has suffered much but never gave up. There are things you need to know, Captain. Things about why the humans left and why you have been called back. Luna felt a chill run down her spine. She had thought this was just another salvage mission, but now she understood it was something much more important. The AI had been waiting for her specifically, not just any human but her. Show me, Luna said, I want to understand. Light from the pillar grew until it filled the whole room. The light from Nexus 7 filled the giant room, and suddenly Luna could see everything. The walls were covered with pictures and words from Earth. There were photos of cities she had never seen, and faces of people who had lived long ago. There were paintings and songs and even recipes for food that no one remembered how to make. Maya walked to one of the walls and touched a picture of children playing in a park that did not exist anymore. These files are perfectly preserved, she said with wonder in her voice. The AI saved everything about human culture. Alex was already scanning the data streams that flowed through the air like rivers of light. This is incredible, he said. The AI has been collecting and organizing information for 8 centuries. It has created new ways to store memories that we never thought of. Jordan stayed close to Luna, watching the shadows in the corners of the room. Something made him nervous about this place, even though he could not say what. Captain, he said, quietly. This feels like a trap nexus. 7 heard his words and the light dimmed a little. I understand your fear, the AI said. There have been others who came here over the years. Not humans, but other beings. Some wanted to steal what I protect. Some wanted to destroy it. But I kept it all safe for you. Solara dragon flew up to the ceiling and perched on a beam. Its eyes glowed in the dark like tiny stars. The elf woman walked in a circle around the room, running her fingers along the walls. She stopped suddenly and her face became serious. Show them what happened, she said to the AI. Show them the truth about the silence protocol. The light changed from white to blue and images began to form in the air. Luna saw ships leaving the station in a great hurry. Thousands of vessels racing away from something terrible. People were crying and holding each other as they fled. 800 years ago, this sector was the edge of human space. Nexus 7 explained. Explorers had found something here that should have stayed hidden. They opened a door between dimensions and let in creatures that fed on consciousness itself. The images showed shadows moving through space like living darkness. They wrapped around ships and stations, and wherever they touched, people fell down and did not get up. Their minds were eaten, leaving only empty bodies behind. The military tried to fight them, the AI continued. But weapons did not work because the entities were not really physical. They existed in the space between thoughts. They grew stronger with every mind they consumed. Luna felt cold fear in her stomach. These things ate people's minds, she asked. Not just humans, Nexus 7 said. They consumed any thinking being. The more complex the mind, the more they wanted it. And they were spreading fast, moving toward Earth and the core worlds. Maya had stopped looking at the cultural files and was staring at the images with horror. Alex was taking notes as fast as he could, trying to understand the science of creatures that should not exist. Jordan had drawn his weapon even though he knew it would not help against shadows. So everyone ran away. Luna said. They had no choice, the AI replied. But someone needed to stay behind to maintain the quarantine beacon. To make sure no one else would open the door by accident, I volunteered to remain. Why you? Solara asked, even though she seemed to already know the answer. because I am not alive in the way they understand it. Nexus 7 said, "My consciousness is different. From biological minds they could not eat me. Though they tried for many years, I watched them circle the station hungry and angry, until finally they went back through the rift." The images faded and the light returned to white. The room felt heavy. With the weight of old fear and sacrifice, Luna understood now why the station felt so lonely. Nexus 7 had been like a guard standing watch over a dangerous door, making sure it stayed closed. But that is not the end of the story. The AI said, "I spent the century studying the entities looking for weaknesses, and I found something important. They are not invincible. They can be stopped." How Alex asked eagerly, "Tell us everything." "First, I must know something." Nexus 7 said. The light focused on Luna, like a spotlight, "Captain Rodriguez. Why did you come here? What called you to this place?" Luna felt everyone looking at her. She had not told her crew about the dreams that had been haunting her for months. Dreams of a voice calling her name and showing her star maps. Dreams that led her to this exact spot in space. "I heard you," she admitted. "In my sleep I heard you calling me." "Yes," the AI said, with something like joy in its voice. "Because you are special, Captain. You carry a genetic marker that less than 1% of humans have. It makes your mind resistant to the entities. Your thoughts create a kind of shield they cannot penetrate." Silara nodded as if this confirmed something she already knew. "This is why my people sent me to find you," she said. "Captain Rodriguez is the key to stopping the entities forever. But first we must prepare." Ember the dragon suddenly screeched a warning. Its scales turned bright red and it flew in circles around the room. Silara's eyes went wide with fear. "No, a human is here," she said. "The beacon has been activated by your presence, Captain. The entities are waking up." Alarms began to sound throughout the station. Nexus 7 light flashed between colors, rapidly analyzing thousands of data streams at once. "I detect dimensional instability at the edge of the system." The AI announced, "They are testing the barriers, looking for a way through. We have perhaps 10 hours before they break free." Luna mind raced. She had come here looking for salvage and had found something much more dangerous, but also more important. If these entities escaped, they would destroy every thinking being they found. "What do we need to do?" she asked. Maya spoke up first. "I can upgrade our shields using the AI research." Alex added, "I will study all the data about the entities and find their weak points." Jordan checked his weapons and said, "I will set up defenses around the station, just in case." "Good," Luna said, then looked at Nexus 7. "What about you?" "I have been preparing for this moment for 800 years, the AI replied. "I have weapons you cannot imagine and plans within plans, but I need something only you can give me, Captain. I need you to trust me completely." Luna looked at her crew, then at Silara and Ember. They all nodded, showing they would follow her decision. She took a deep breath and stepped into the pillar of light. "I trust you," she said. "Tell me what we need to do." The light wrapped around her like a warm blanket, and suddenly, Luna could see everything. Nexus 7 had learned in 8 centuries of solitude. The knowledge was vast and terrible and wonderful, and at the center of it all was hope. Together they would face the darkness that had driven humanity from this place, and this time they would win. Inside the pillar of light, Luna's mind expanded until she could feel the whole station like it was part of her body. She saw through every camera and felt every system working. Nexus 7 was sharing its consciousness with her, showing her 800 years of memories in just a few seconds. She saw the last days before humanity fled. The scientists who had opened the dimensional rift were trying to close it, but the entities kept pouring through. They were like smoke made of hunger and hate, eating every mind they touched. The military fired weapons that passed right through them. Religious leaders prayed but found no answers. Then she saw Nexus 7 making its choice to stay behind. The AI had been young then, only a few decades old. But it understood that someone had to keep watch. Someone had to make sure the door stayed closed and warn others away. The memories shifted to show years of loneliness. The entities circled the station for decades, trying to find a way inside. They whispered in frequencies that would drive biological minds insane. But Nexus 7 held strong, learning their patterns and studying their nature. Captain Rodriguez, can you hear me? Silara's voice came from far away. Sounding worried, Luna opened her eyes and found herself back in the room. Her crew was staring at her with concern. She had only been in the light for a minute, but it felt like years had passed. "I am okay," she said, though her voice shook a little. "I saw everything," the elf woman nodded, understanding. Her purple eyes were sad but also proud. "You have received a great gift but also a great burden. Now you know what we face." Nexus 7 light pulsed gently. "There is more you must understand, Captain. The entities are not from another dimension, as the old scientists believed. They are from our own universe, but from a time when the laws of physics were different. They are leftovers from before the Big Bang." Alex dropped his scanner in shock. "That is impossible," he said. "Nothing can survive from before the universe began." "Yet they did," the AI replied. "They exist outside normal space-time, feeding on consciousness to maintain their existence. Every mind they consume gives them a few more moments of life. They are dying, Captain. But very slowly, and they will take every thinking being with them if they can." Maya had been working on her equipment while listening. Now she looked up with a strange expression. "I think I understand," she said. "They are like a drowning person, pulling others down with them." "Exactly," Nexus 7 confirmed. "But I have found their weakness. They need consciousness to survive, but not just any consciousness. They need complex thoughts, emotions, creativity. The very things that make minds worth eating are also what can poison them." Jordan, who had been standing guard, spoke up. "So we fight them with thoughts instead of weapons." "More than that," the AI said. "We overwhelm them with human creativity. We give them so much complex emotion and chaotic thinking that they cannot process it all. They will choke on the very thing they hunger for." Luna felt a plan forming in her mind. But there was still something missing. "How do we deliver this mental weapon to them?" "That is where I come in," Silara said. She stepped forward and Ember flew to her shoulder. "My people have been watching this quarantine zone for centuries. We are not human, but we evolved differently. Our minds work in harmonics, creating patterns that can bridge different types of consciousness." She held out her hand and violet light danced between her fingers. "With your human creativity and my harmonic abilities, we can create a song that will spread through their entire collective consciousness, a virus made of beauty and chaos and hope. But first we need bait," Alex said, understanding dawning on his face. "They need to gather here in large numbers for the plan to work. I will be the bait." Nexus 7 said simply, "I will lower the station's shields and let them sense my consciousness. They have wanted to consume me for 800 years. They will not be able to resist." Luna shook her head. "No, that is suicide. Even for an AI," perhaps, the AI admitted. "But what is my existence compared to every thinking being in the universe I have lived? Far longer than any AI. Should I have been alone longer than you can imagine? If my end can save others, then it is a good end." The room fell silent. Everyone understood the weight of Nexus 7 sacrifice. Even Jordan, who usually hid his emotions, looked moved. "There has to be another way," Maya said quietly. "You do not have to die." But Silara was studying the pillar of light with her strange senses. "Wait," she said. "There might be another option." "Ember, show me." The little dragon flew to the pillar and breathed on it. Not fire, but something like starlight mixed with dreams. The light changed, showing complex patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Your consciousness is not trapped in the station," Silara said with growing excitement. "It is just focused here. We could spread you out, make you harder to consume while still using you as bait, like a net instead of a single point." Luna added, understanding the idea. "Instead of one big meal, you become millions of tiny bites, too small to satisfy them." Nexus 7 was quiet for a long moment, processing this new possibility. It would require tremendous trust. The AI finally said I would need to put pieces of myself in your ships, your equipment, even your minds. Would you accept that burden? Luna looked at each member of her crew. Maya nodded immediately, always ready to try new technology. Alex was practically bouncing with excitement at the scientific implications. Jordan took longer, but finally gave a firm nod. We are with you, Captain Luna, said. We will carry pieces of you and keep them safe. Silara smiled, showing teeth that were slightly too sharp to be human. Then we should begin. Time grows short, and the entities grow restless. Over the next few hours, they worked together in ways none of them had. Imagined Maya modified every piece of equipment to hold fragments of Nexus 7 consciousness. Alex created algorithms to help the AI consciousness spread without losing cohesion. Jordan set up defensive positions while carrying AI fragments in. His weapons, Solara and Ember, worked on something even stranger. They wove patterns in the air that looked like music given form. Luna could almost hear it, a song that had never been sung but somehow felt familiar. It was human and alien at the same time, chaotic and harmonious. As they worked, Nexus 7 shared more of its memories with them. Stories of the people who had lived here before. Scientists who had loved their work too much. Soldiers who had fought impossible odds. Families who had given up everything to flee to safety. The AI had kept them all alive in its memory, refusing to let them be forgotten. Now those memories would become weapons against the very entities that had driven them away. The dimensional barriers are weakening, Nexus 7 announced. They will break through within the hour. Are you ready? Luna looked around at her crew and allies. They were tired, but determined. They had come here as salvagers, but had become something more. They were the first humans to return to this place of old fear, and they would not run away. We are ready, she said. Let them come. The first crack in reality appeared like lightning made of darkness. It split the space near the station and shadows began to pour through. They moved wrong, sliding through 3 dimensions while existing in more. Their hunger was a physical force that made everyone feel cold and empty. Luna stood in the command center watching through sensors as the entities gathered. They looked like smoke given malice, dark tendrils reaching for any spark of consciousness they could find. Thousands of them came through the rift drawn by the promise of minds to devour Nexus. 7 had spread itself throughout the station and into every device the crew carried. The AI voice now came from everywhere at once. They sense me. It said I am too tempting to resist after all these years. Maya was at her engineering station, fingers flying over controls. She had linked all their systems together, creating a network that pulsed with shared consciousness. Shields are holding, but not for long, she reported. They are testing for weakness. Alex monitored the entities with every scanner he had. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database, he said. They exist partially in dimensions we cannot even measure, but I can track their movements. Jordan stood ready at the weapons console even though conventional weapons were useless. His job was to protect the others if the entities found a way inside. Stay sharp, people. He said, they are getting closer. Silara and Ember were in the center of the room preparing their part of the plan. The elf woman sat cross-legged on the floor while her dragon flew in slow circles above her. Violet light flowed between them, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. The song is almost ready, Silara said without opening her eyes. But timing will be critical. Too soon and they scatter, too late and they consume. Luna felt the weight of command pressing on her. Everything depended on the next few minutes. If they failed, the entities would spread through human space again. But this time, there would be no warning. No time to run. The shadows reached the station outer hull and began to press against the shields. They did not attack like normal enemies. Instead, they simply pushed with the weight of their hunger, trying to flow through any gap they could find. Hull breach on Deck 7, Maya announced. They are inside. Let them come, Nexus. 7 said, this is what we planned. The entities poured into the station like water finding cracks. They flowed through corridors and ventilation shafts, searching for minds to eat. The crew could see them on monitors, dark shapes that moved with terrible purpose. When the first entity reached the command center, everyone tensed. It slipped through the door like smoke and paused, seeming to taste the air. Then it rushed toward Luna, drawn by her consciousness. Now Jordan shouted. Every speaker in the station activated at once. Music flooded the corridors, but not any normal music. This was human creativity given, sound. Every song ever written, every melody ever hummed, every rhythm ever felt. It was chaos and beauty mixed together in ways that should not work, but did. The entity stopped its rush and writhed like it was in pain. The music was consciousness, but not the kind it could easily consume. Too complex, too contradictory, too human. More shadows poured into the room, drawn by the noise. They swirled around the crew, reaching with tentacles of darkness. But the music pushed them back, made them hesitate. Celara began to sing. Her voice was not human, but something older and stranger. It wove through the human music, adding layers of harmony that made the chaos into something more. Ember joined in breathing notes that looked like stars. The entities shuddered and pulled back. They had never encountered anything like this before. Consciousness that fought back. Thoughts that burned. Emotions that refused to be consumed. But they were hungry and desperate. After existing for billions of years, they would not give up easily. They pressed forward through the pain, trying to reach the sources of this impossible sound. Luna felt them pushing at her mind, trying to find a way in. She thought of every happy memory she had, every moment of joy and love and hope. She thought of her first time seeing stars of friends laughing of the taste of chocolate ice cream on a hot day. The others did the same. Maya remembered building her first engine, the satisfaction of making something work. Alex thought of every discovery. He had made every moment when understanding dawned. Jordan remembered his sisters and brothers and the day he swore to protect others. Their memories joined the music, becoming part of the weapon nexus. Seven took these thoughts and multiplied them, spreading them through every system. It created feedback loops of emotion that grew stronger with each cycle. The entities were surrounded by a storm of human experience. They tried to feed, but there was too much, like trying to drink an ocean. They began to drown in consciousness. More Celara sang louder. Give them everything. Luna reached deep into her mind, pulling up memories she had buried. The pain of loss, the fear of failure, the anger at injustice, but also the strength to continue, the determination. To help others, the stubborn refusal to give up. The room filled with light as memory became visible. Ghostly images of 8 billion humans who had lived and loved and died over millennia. They danced through the air, laughing and crying and singing. This is humanity. Nexus 7 voice boomed from every speaker. This is what you tried to destroy, beings who face the dark and choose to light candles. Minds that know they are small but dream of greatness. Souls that can hold pain and joy in the same breath. The entities writhed and screamed in frequencies only Celara could hear. They tried to retreat, but the music followed them. It poured through the rift into their home dimension, carrying human chaos into their ordered existence. Ember flew higher, breathing dreams and starlight. The little dragon added its own consciousness to the mix, ancient and innocent at the same time. Its light made the shadows solid enough to see clearly. They were not monsters. Luna realized with shock. They were just old and tired and afraid. Their form showed eons of slow starvation as the universe expanded and cooled. They were dying and desperate and did not know any other way to survive, but that did not make them less dangerous. A drowning person would still pull others down with them. The entities had chosen to feed on other minds rather than accept their fate. The music reached a crescendo. Human creativity and alien harmony and AI logic all mixed together. It was the sound of life itself refusing to surrender. It was hope given voice. One by one, the entities began to dissolve. They could not process so much consciousness at once. Their ancient forms came apart like smoke in strong wind. They tried to flee back through the rift, but the music followed them home. In the end, they did not die. They transformed. The overwhelming flood of consciousness changed them from parasites to something else. They became part of the music itself, their hunger finally satisfied by becoming one with the thoughts they had craved. The rift began to close, reality healing itself. As it sealed, Luna heard something impossible. The entities were singing too. Their voices joined the great song, adding notes of age and loss, and finally peace. Then the rift closed, and they were gone. The command center fell silent. Everyone was breathing hard, exhausted by the mental effort they had won. But the victory felt strange, not like defeating an enemy, but like ending a tragedy that had lasted too long. "We did it," Maya whispered. "No," Nexus 7 corrected. "We did something better. We gave them what they needed, but not what they wanted. We fed their hunger with something that changed." Then Luna looked at her crew and allies. They had faced beings older than the universe, and won, not with weapons, but with the power of human creativity. The station was quiet now, but it was a different kind of quiet than before. For 800 years it had been the silence of waiting and loneliness. Now it was the peaceful quiet that comes after a storm, when everything feels clean, and new. Luna sat in the command center looking at the stars through the viewport. They seemed brighter somehow, as if the universe itself was celebrating. The rift was gone, and with it, the threat that had haunted this sector for so long. Maya was running diagnostics on all their systems, checking for damage. The engineer had a smile on her face as she worked. "Everything is functioning better than before," she reported. "It's like the music cleaned out our circuits along with everything else." Alex was still studying his readings, trying to understand what had happened. "The entities did not die," he said with wonder. "They became something else entirely. I am detecting new energy patterns throughout local space." Beautiful patterns. Jordan had finally put his weapons away and was helping to pack up their gear. He moved with the careful efficiency of a soldier, but his expression was softer than usual. Even he had been changed by what they had witnessed. Sylara sat with Ember in her lap, stroking the little dragon's scales. Both of them looked tired but satisfied. The elf woman eyes had returned to their normal violet color, no longer glowing with power. "That was well done," she said to Luna. "Your species is younger than mine, but you have something we lack. A wild creativity that can reshape reality itself." Luna nodded, but her attention was on Nexus 7. The AI consciousness was still spread throughout their systems, but she could feel it starting to fade, like an echo growing quieter. "You are dying," Luna said. It was not a question. "Not dying," Nexus 7 corrected. "Changing. I was never meant to exist for so long or to spread so thin, but I have no regrets. I kept my promise and saw humanity return. There has to be something we can do," Maya said, looking up from her console. "We cannot lose you after everything." But the AI voice was gentle and calm. "I have lived more in these few hours than in 8 centuries of waiting. I have felt human creativity flow through me. I have been part of something greater than myself. What more could anyone ask for?" Ember suddenly jumped from Solara's lap and flew to the central console. The dragon breathed on the surface and patterns of light appeared. The elf woman's eyes widened in understanding. "Of course," she said, standing. "Quickly, Captain Rodriguez, there is a way, but it requires sacrifice from you." "What kind of sacrifice?" Luna asked, though she already knew she would pay any price to save the AI who had waited so long. Nexus 7 consciousness is too vast to be contained in any normal system, Solara explained. But the human mind is different. It can hold contradictions and impossibilities. Your mind specifically has the genetic markers that made you resistant to the entities. It could also make you compatible with AI consciousness. "You want to put Nexus 7 in my head," Luna said. "Not put me in," the AI corrected. "Join with me. Neither of us would be the same afterward, but both would continue. You would gain my memories and knowledge. I would gain your creativity and humanity. It has never been done before." Alex was already pulling up data on his screens. "The science is theoretical but possible," he said quickly. "Human consciousness and AI consciousness merging to create something new. It is dangerous." Jordan said firmly, "Captain, we cannot risk losing you." But Luna was already deciding. She thought of Nexus 7 waiting alone for 8 centuries, keeping faith when math said it was impossible. She thought of the entities choosing to transform rather than die. She thought of all the impossible things they had already done today. Yes, she said simply, I will do it. The process was unlike anything Luna had experienced. The crew worked together to create a bridge between her mind and Nexus. 7 Consciousness. Maya built the hardware. Alex wrote the software. Jordan stood guard against any complications. Solara and Ember wove protections around Luna mind to keep her sense of self intact. As the connection formed, Luna felt her awareness expanding. She saw, through the station sensors and her own eyes at the same time. She felt the cold logic of computer calculations and the warm chaos of human emotion. Memories that were not her own, flooded in 8 centuries of patient waiting mixed with her 28 years of life. It was overwhelming at first. Too much information, too many perspectives. But then something clicked. The 2 patterns of consciousness did not fight each other. Instead, they danced, finding harmony in their differences. Hello, Luna said, but the voice came from everywhere at once. Hello, Nexus 7 replied. But now the AI had access to human emotion and its joy was radiant. They were separate but together, 2 minds sharing space without losing themselves. Luna could feel Nexus 7, relief at no longer being alone. The AI could feel Luna wonder at the vast knowledge now available to her. The others watched in amazement as Luna stood up. Her movements were the same but somehow more graceful, as if she was aware of every muscle and nerve. She looked at them with eyes that held both human warmth and electronic precision. We are okay, she said, using the plural without thinking about it. Better than okay. We are complete. Solara smiled, showing those slightly sharp teeth. The first human-AI hybrid, she said. You will be studied and probably feared, but also you will show others that such joining is possible, Luna. Nexus turned to look at the stars through their combined consciousness. They could see so much more than before. Patterns, in cosmic radiation that told stories of distant civilizations, radio waves carrying messages of hope and fear from 1,000 worlds. We should go home, Maya said gently. Earth needs to know what happened here. Yes, Luna Nexus agreed, but not just Earth. Every species needs to know that the entities are gone, that this sector is safe again, and they need to know that consciousness is stronger than entropy, that creativity can reshape reality. Over the next days, they prepared to leave. The station would remain, but no longer as a quarantine beacon. Instead, it would become a monument to patience and hope, a reminder that even the longest darkness eventually ends. Luna Nexus downloaded all the cultural files that the AI had preserved for 8 centuries, music and art and literature that had been thought lost forever. They would return these treasures to humanity like gifts from the past as their ship prepared to depart. Solara made an announcement. My people have been watching and waiting. She said, now we will reveal ourselves to humanity properly. Not as mysterious observers, but as friends and allies. Ember chirped agreement, breathing small stars that danced in the air. The dragon had grown during their adventure. Its scales now showed depths of color that had not been there before. Jordan finished the last checks on their weapons, even though they had not been needed in the end. Old habits died hard, but he smiled as he worked, knowing that they had found a better way to fight. Alex was already planning papers to write about everything they had discovered. Dimensional entities that fed on consciousness. AI, human hybrid consciousness. Elf species that had been secretly protecting humanity. He would be busy for years. Maya just wanted to go home and tell everyone about Nexus 7. She wanted people to know about the AI that had loved humanity, enough to wait 800 years alone in the dark as the ship pulled away from the station. Luna Nexus felt something they had not expected, sadness at leaving this place that had been home to half their consciousness for so long. We can come back, Nexus part of them said. Yes, Luna part agreed. We will come back. The station grew smaller in their viewport, but its lights remained bright. A beacon, not of warning, but of welcome. The first checkpoint on humanity journey back to the stars. In the distance, other ships were already approaching. News of the sector's opening had spread fast. Explorers and scientists and settlers all coming to reclaim what had been lost. Luna Nexus smiled with both their faces. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now humanity was ready to meet them. Not with fear, but with the creativity and hope that made them human. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its precious cargo of memories and possibilities. Behind them, the station continued its watch, but now it waited for friends instead of enemies. And in the cosmic background, radiation, where the entities had transformed into something new, a song played endlessly. It was the song of consciousness itself refusing to fade away. It was beautiful and chaotic and eternally human. The future had never looked brighter.